When Alejandro Ruiz, the millionaire CEO of Ruiz Industries, saw that 5-year-old girl with blonde curls enter his conference room during a job interview, he thought it was a joke. But when little Sofia said in a trembling voice, "Mom is sick. I came in her place," Alejandro's world stopped. What he didn't know was that behind that girl with the crumpled notebook was the most moving story he had ever heard, and that this impossible interview would forever change not only the life of a desperate family, but also the soul of a man who had forgotten what it truly meant to be human. Because sometimes it takes a child's innocence to remind an adult who they really are. Madrid, headquarters of Ruiz Industries, 14th floor. Alejandro Ruiz, 42, CEO of one of Spain's most prestigious consulting firms, was personally conducting a job interview. It was a day like any other in his office overlooking the royal palace, where every detail was calculated to impress. "Mrs. Benedetti," he was saying to the candidate in front of him. "Your resume is impressive, but for this position we're looking for someone with." The office door opened slowly and Alejandro stopped abruptly. A girl of about 5 years old with messy blonde curls and a slightly wrinkled pink dress entered the room timidly. She was clutching a worn brown notebook to her chest and looking around with big, frightened eyes. "Excuse me," said Alejandro, annoyed, addressing his assistant Laura, who had run in after the girl. "What's going on here?" "I'm sorry, Mr. Ruiz," Laura said, panting. "I don't know how she managed to." "Mom is sick," the girl suddenly said in a small but determined voice. "I came in her place." Alejandro was left speechless. The candidate, Mrs. Benedetti, turned towards the girl with a confused expression. "What?" asked Alejandro, completely bewildered. The girl approached the desk timidly, still clutching her notebook. "Mom said she had to come here today for an important job, but last night she had a high fever and couldn't get out of bed. So I took the bus and came." "But you, how old are you?" asked Alejandro, completely forgetting about Mrs. Benedetti. 5. "I'll be 6 in 2 months, the girl replied proudly. "My name is Sofia Martin. Mom is Elena Martin. She said you would give her a very important job." Alejandro quickly checked the schedule on his computer. Indeed, at 3 p.m. he had an interview scheduled with Elena Martin for a junior administrative position. But how had a 5-year-old girl gotten there alone? "Sofia," Alejandro said in a softer voice. "How did you get here?" "I took the bus," Sofia replied as if it were the most normal thing in the world. "Mom showed me which one to take to the city center. I asked the security guard where Mr. Ruiz's office was and he brought me up." Alejandro looked at Laura, who ran a hand over her forehead. "Mr. Ruiz, should I call the police? Or social services?" "No," said Alejandro, raising a hand. "First, I want to understand." He got up from his chair and approached Sofia, kneeling down to be at her eye level. "Sofia, is Mom really sick?" Sofia nodded, her eyes beginning to glisten with tears. "She's had a fever for 3 days. She can't eat and keeps saying she has to come here today because we need money. She always says if she doesn't find a job, we won't be able to pay the rent." Alejandro's heart sank. "And you came here alone to help Mom?" Sofia opened the notebook she was clutching to her chest. The pages were full of colorful drawings and childish writing. "I brought this. These are all the drawings I made of Mom working. I thought maybe if you saw that Mom is good at doing lots of things, you'd give her the job anyway." Alejandro felt a lump in his throat. In 20 years of his career, he had never seen anything like it. A 5-year-old girl crossing Madrid alone to try to save her family. "Mrs. Benedetti," said Alejandro without taking his eyes off Sofia. "Could we postpone this interview? An urgent matter has come up." Mrs. Benedetti, visibly moved by the scene, nodded. "Of course, Mr. Ruiz." When they were alone, Alejandro sat on the floor next to Sofia. "Tell me about Mom, Sofia. What job did she do before?" And so began the most extraordinary story Alejandro had ever heard. Sofia opened her notebook with the seriousness of an adult. Look, Mr. Ruiz, this is when Mom worked at the bank. Alejandro looked at the drawing, a female figure behind a counter with a big smile and many little men in line. Mom was very good, everyone liked her, Sophia continued, but the bank closed and Mom came home crying. And Dad? Alejandro asked gently. He left when I was little. Mom says he got scared of the responsibilities. Alejandro was surprised by the wisdom in those words coming from a 5-year-old girl. Since then, it's just Mom and me. She does different jobs, but she would like a real job in an office. Sophia showed another drawing, a woman with numbers all around. She's very good with numbers, and she always reads me stories before bed. Where do you live? On Calle de la Paloma. The house is small, but pretty, with pink walls and little stars. Alejandro looked at his watch. 2 hours had flown by listening to this extraordinary girl. Sophia, does Mom know you're here? Sophia lowered her gaze. I left a note. Mom, I went to the interview for you. I love you. Alejandro imagined Elena terrified upon finding that note. We have to call her right away. But looking once more at those drawings full of love, Alejandro made a decision that would change everything. Alejandro dialed the number Sophia had recited, putting it on speakerphone. The phone rang. Then a feverish and terrified voice answered. Hello? Mrs. Martin, this is Alejandro Ruiz from Ruiz Industries. Oh my God, Sophia. Where is my daughter? Mommy. Sophia shouted. I'm fine, I'm in Mr. Ruiz's office. Sophia, my darling, how could you? Elena's voice broke. Alejandro intervened. Your daughter is perfectly fine and she's extraordinary. Could you come here? Yes, but I'm not feeling well. And Sophia? We'll come to see you. What's your address? Elena gave the address. But, Mr. Ruiz, I don't understand. We'll be there in an hour. And Mrs. Martin, your daughter just gave the most impressive interview of my career. In the company car, Sophia commented on everything with amazement. She had never been in such a nice car. Sophia, weren't you scared? Alejandro asked. A little, yes. But Mom says when you do something out of love, courage comes on its own. They arrived at Calle de la Paloma. The building was modest but well kept. Elena opened the door. Even with a fever, Alejandro immediately saw the beauty and determination Sophia had inherited. Sophia. Elena hugged her daughter. Don't ever do something like that again. I'm sorry, Mom, but I had to help you. The apartment was small but cozy, full of drawings and books. Despite the difficulties, love could be felt everywhere. Mrs. Martin, said Alejandro. Your daughter has shown me what kind of mother you are. I want to offer you a job, but not the one you applied for. Elena looked at Alejandro in disbelief as Sophia fell asleep in her arms. In 20 years, I've interviewed thousands of people, said Alejandro. But today, through your daughter, I saw something I hadn't seen in years. True love, sacrifice, courage. Elena stroked Sophia's hair, confused. My company is successful, but we've lost our humanity. The employees are efficient, but not happy. Alejandro stood up. I want to offer you the position of Director of Human Resources. Elena was startled. But I've never. Your daughter has shown me that you know everything about people. You know how to help someone grow, motivate them, make them feel important. The salary will be €3,500 per month, plus bonuses. Company car, health insurance for you and Sophia. Elena began to cry. That's not possible. I don't have the experience. You raised Sophia. If you managed to raise such an extraordinary girl under difficult conditions, you can manage anything. There's one condition, Alejandro added. I want Sophia to come to the office when needed. I want my employees to learn what a real family is. Why are you doing this? Because your daughter today reminded me who I was before I became what I am. Sophia opened her eyes. Mom, why are you crying? Did Mr. Ruiz give you the job? Yes, my little star. You performed a miracle. I told you I was good at interviews, Sophia smiled. Alejandro laughed heartily. We start on Monday. Are you enjoying this story? Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Now let's continue with the video. Monday morning, Ruiz Industries was buzzing. News of the hiring had spread among the employees. Elena entered holding Sophia's hand, both elegantly dressed in new clothes. Alejandro was waiting for them in the lobby. Good morning, Director Martin, he said with a smile. Sophia looked at everything, enchanted. It's still so pretty. Alejandro showed Elena her new office. A bright space with a desk and a colorful little corner for Sophia with a small table and books. Throughout the morning, he introduced her to the team. Reactions were mixed, but Sophia immediately won everyone over. Hi, I'm Sophia, she said to Marco from accounting, who looked stressed. Do you want me to draw you a picture? They always make you feel better. In the afternoon, Elena had her first human resources meeting. The topic, increasing turnover. The numbers show we've lost 30% of our junior team, the manager said. Elena spoke up. When was the last time someone asked an employee how their family was doing? Silence. People don't just leave a job, they leave an environment where they don't feel seen or valued. Alejandro smiled. Elena was doing exactly what he had hoped. After the meeting, he found Sophia drawing the office, but with more colors and smiles. Sophia, how can I make the people here feel better? Do what Mom does. Ask how they're really doing and give big smiles. Smiles are hugs with your face. That night, while walking them home, Alejandro said, You two have reminded me what it truly means to be alive. 3 months later, Ruiz Industries was a completely transformed company. Elena had implemented a series of initiatives that revolutionized the corporate culture. Monthly breakfasts where employees shared personal stories, support programs for families in difficulty, recreational spaces for breaks, and, above all, the regular presence of Sophia, whose spontaneity had broken down the formal barriers separating people. Turnover had dropped to 5%. Productivity had increased by 40%. And for the first time in years, Ruiz Industries was included on the list of the best companies to work for in Spain. Mom, look, Sophia said one morning, entering Elena's office with a drawing. I drew Marco smiling. Elena looked at the drawing. Marco from accounting, who used to always be serious, was now depicted with a huge smile surrounded by little hearts. It's beautiful, sweetheart. Why does Marco always smile now? Because I taught him that when he finishes working with numbers, he can play with me. Games make you forget your problems. Alejandro entered at that moment. Good morning, Martin family. Alejandro. Sophia ran to hug him. It had become a daily routine. I have news, said Alejandro, sitting down. The board of directors has unanimously approved your expansion project, Elena. We'll open 3 more offices with the same human resources management model. Elena smiled. It's incredible how everything has changed. It hasn't changed, Sophia said wisely. It just became what it always should have been. Alejandro looked at Sophia. What do you mean? Mom says beautiful things already exist, they're just sometimes hidden. We just brought them out into the open. That afternoon, Alejandro called a general meeting. All the employees gathered in the main hall. 3 months ago, Alejandro began, a 5-year-old girl entered my office and changed everything I believed, not just about business, but about life. He looked at Elena and Sophia in the front row. Sophia and Elena Martin have taught me that success isn't measured only in profits, but in smiles, not only in efficiency, but in happiness, not only in results, but in relationships. The employees listened attentively. Many smiled while looking at Sophia, who waved her little hand. That's why I've decided to introduce a new model. Every employee will have the opportunity to occasionally bring their children to the office. Every week we'll dedicate an hour to personal stories, and every month we'll organize events for families. Spontaneous applause filled the room. But above all, Alejandro continued, I want each of you to remember that before being colleagues, we are human beings with dreams, fears, hopes, and people we love. Sophia raised her hand. Can I say something? Alejandro smiled. Of course, Sophia. Sophia stood up on her chair. I wanted to say that all of you are very good and very nice people. And when you work with people you love, even work becomes like play. The applause that followed was the warmest in the history of Ruiz Industries. That night, as Alejandro, Elena, and Sophia dined together at the company restaurant, another innovation introduced, Alejandro looked at this family that had revolutionized his life. Elena, Sophia, he said, I wanted to thank you. For what? Asked Elena. For teaching me that true success isn't what you build, but what you share, not what you possess, but what you give, and that sometimes the most important lessons come from the smallest teachers. Sophia smiled. Alejandro, can I ask you a question? Always. Now that we're a work family, can we be a real family too? Alejandro looked at Elena, who blushed slightly but smiled. Sophia, Alejandro said, I think we already are. Their story showed that sometimes it takes a girl's courage to change an adult's heart, and that love, in all its forms, is always the right answer to life's most difficult questions. If this story moved you and made you believe in the power of innocence and family love, leave a little heart below. I want to hear your stories. Have you ever seen a child change an adult's perspective? Do you believe a work environment can truly become a second family? Tell me in the comments about your experiences when innocence triumphed over the harshness of the business world. If this story touched your heart, give it a like. If you believe children are our best life teachers, subscribe so you don't miss stories that prove love always wins. Share with someone who needs to believe kindness can change everything. Comment. Work family. If you also believe colleagues can become a true family, remember. In a world that often forgets human values, it's the smallest among us who remind us what's truly important. Love, family, kindness, these aren't weaknesses in business, they're the foundations of true success. See you in the next video with another story that will make you believe in the magic that's born when innocence meets wisdom.